The issue you take is that there were no reasons, they were not called for. The instances of non-compliance you rely on are not substantial. The head of the department, as he is authorized, did condone non-compliance. I don't think
I'm not sure if I can take, if I may, my lady. Ms. Nkumo's conduct herself is not in accordance with Section 217. To have one person issue the quotations, do the administrative...
The head approved. Remember, the head has got the authority. The head is clothed with authority to approve non-compliance with the applicable prescription. When you look at the dates, it was right in the middle of lockdown, right? I've dealt with a number of matters where we are told that the departments were working with extremely limited staff. In certain departments, it was just one person authorized to go to the office. The SIU did not investigate all of this. Now, you see, if you were coming to me and saying this SCM official did all of this all by herself and there was not approved deviation, then I would look at the matter differently. But the head of department approved that. The SIU did nothing to investigate this. All the SIU did was to rely on an internal audit finding. The SIU should have probed. Remember, the purpose of an internal audit is not to institute legal proceedings. It is not to prove non-compliance with Section 217 of the Constitution. It's for an entirely different purpose. The SIU, what does the SIU do? SIU is authorized to investigate in terms of the Act. It does absolutely no investigation. It takes the internal audit report, and from there it formulates a course of action. That's not how it should be done.
My lady, if I may, KwaZulu-Natal internal audit investigated the irregularities. That was the purpose of the forensic investigation into the alleged irregular procurement of the PPE, and they generated the report. We then have the proclamation, and the SIU is mandated to investigate.
That report was not, the investigation was not compiled, it was not conducted in terms of the SIU Act. The report was not filed in terms of the SIU Act. Remember that for the SIU to be clothed with locus standi, the legal proceedings must emanate from its own investigation.
Well, my lady, the SIU investigated the veracity of the report. They confirmed by a perusal and analysis of all of the documents involved in this procurement transaction that there were irregularities. And those irregularities, my lady has said they're not substantial, but they do exist. There are irregularities, my lady, in the manner
you are saying the SCM official did not, there was no segregation of duties, right? She does all of that, but the head of department approves. Head of department says, okay, I'm approving that non-compliance.
Oh, my lady, he approves 4 entities for the procurement of the PPE. Not one of the entities approved in the consolidated submission on 25 March. That's to be found in paragraph 12.4. 12.4 of the practice note, my lady.
Take me to the founding affidavit.
My lady, it would be on 001-42 of the founding affidavit.
Yeah.
Paragraph 106. I'm just trying to get there quickly, my lady.
Look at 115.
I'm
These
there, my
companies
lady.
were sourced from the CSD, including Ingciti.
That's right, my lady. But in terms of the consolidated submission, that's from paragraph 102
And it's not true
right
that
down to
there wasn't
paragraph
segregation
106.
of duties. It's also, ma'am, it's not true. Your practice note is inaccurate. Look at 116.
How so?
The list was compiled by Matenjwa, it was received by Nkomo, and it was approved by Sangweni. So the official that you said her duties were not segregated, that's not supported by the affirmance in the founding affidavit, ma'am.
But my lady, I didn't
Sent
say
out the
so.
invitations. You see, Nkomo
That's
sent
right.
out the, but she didn't receive them according to 116.
That's right, my lady. And I didn't set that out in the practice note. I didn't record that she received them. I left that out specifically. But she did send it out and she did do the administrative responsiveness and the evaluations. And that's supported by the FA if my lady has sight of 117. And 123, my lady, paragraph 117 and 123 of the FA.
Anything further, ma'am?
My lady, we do address in the practice note the issue of non-compliance with the specifications, and that is the specifications in accordance with the World Health Organization standards. I address this in paragraphs 12.14 to 12.18 of the practice note.
In the founding affidavit? Where do I find it?
It's in the supplementary founding affidavit, that's in section 011.
Yes. It's not appearing on my side. Oh, it's 011. Okay, I see it now. Paragraph?
That's right, paragraph 22, 23, 24, my lady.
And this was only filed in 2023.
No, my lady, the supplementary founding affidavit was filed on the 21st of July, 2022, my lady.
Okay, where do I find which paragraph?
22, 23, and 24, that's page 1118.
22, 23, 24. Anything further, ma'am?
No further submissions, my lady. The heads of argument set out comprehensively why we of the view, or the applicant is of the view, that the grounds for review do exist and that the draft amended order as uploaded onto case lines ought to be granted by the Honorable Tribunal, my lady.
Judgment reserved. Next matter.
As the court pleases. Number 2 on my lady's roll, SIU versus Beyond Hospitality Solutions and the MSc for the Department of Social Development. My lady, the updated practice note is in section 003.
Yeah, let's work with, you filed heads here, right, ma'am?
In all the matters, I have filed long heads, my lady, but the practice note is as per my lady's guidance.
Yes, in this matter, I actually relied on the heads of argument. So that's the document I'd like to engage you on.
As the court pleases, my lady. Just
When was this application instituted?
My lady, the notice of motion, I'm trying to obtain the date quickly for my lady. Lady, can I come back to the date of signature? For some reason, it's just taking a very long time to upload.
Yes.
But it would have been done, my lady, sometime in 2021. There we are. I have it. It's a 2021 case number. It's July 2021. The actual date is obscured, my lady.
Okay, that's fine. So here, you take issue with the deviation or the reason that the reasons for deviation were not recorded.
That's
there
right.
was an approved deviation. There was an approved deviation, and all you are saying is that the reasons for the deviation was not. Please take me to that deviation, ma'am.
I will, my lady. Just quickly finding my reference. It's annexure DB6, which is 001312, my lady.
001 item DB6.
It's item 6.
Item 6.
That's it.
Okay, this is the submission, right?
So if we go to page 316, my lady.
Okay, I'm just scrolling through it. I see. Okay, let's go back to the heads. The purchase order was created on the 19th of March 2020, right? According to paragraph 22 of your heads. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Quotation was sent. I can hear you, my lady. The quotation was sent on the 19th of March.
Yes, I'm dealing with the purchase order, ma'am.
Yes, my lady.
On that date, that's the date on which the treasury note is issued. So if an official is sitting in KZN on the 19th and is calling for quotations, that quotation is approved on that day. On that day, a purchase order is created, which means procurement is finalized. All that remains now is delivery. On that date, in Pretoria, a policy is issued, a regulation is issued. How can you allege that there was non-compliance?
My lady, it could have been a non-award. I mean, these regulations that we issued by National Treasury, Instruction Note 8, would not have come as a surprise. These would have been expected, my lady.
Take me to the founding affidavit. So let's see how that's pleaded. The SIU will have to do more here. The SIU will have to establish that when the invitation was issued on that day, this official was aware of these regulations.
My lady, in that instance, having heard what my lady has said, may we have leave to supplement these papers accordingly? We have
No,
dealt in the
I'm
founding
not.
affidavit.
No, I'm not granting you that leave, ma'am.
Well, my lady, we do say in the founding affidavit that the
Yes.
second respondent was in a position to comply, but it failed to do so. I mean, this quote was generated on the 19th of March, evaluated on the 19th, and an award was made. Given that the regulations crossed with the evaluation and the issue of the award,
It's not for you, ma'am, to testify from the bar. You are testifying from the bar now.
Let me take my lady to the FA, where we say that the second respondent was in a position to comply, but failed to do so because it accepted the quote on the same date.
Paragraph.
I'm just quickly trying to find that, my lady. One. 8. It should be around paragraph 97, my lady, of the founding affidavit.
Paragraph 97.
Thereabouts.
That's not the point made there, ma'am. Next point.
Well, my lady, I want to bring my lady back to the, my lady would have seen Annexure DB6 where no reasons were recorded.
Yes.
And we do make that point in the founding affidavit, specifically in paragraph 104, that there was non-compliance, my lady. And I'll place reliance on that point, that regulation 16A 6.1 and 16A 6.4 is specific in that it requires the accounting officer to record his or her reasons. And in this instance, Ngobane approved with no reasons. And my lady, on that leg, we submit that this procurement decision ought to be set aside and there ought to be a debatement of account.
Anything further?
Those are my submissions, my lady, in respect
Judgment
of
reserved. Judgment reserved. Next matter.
As the court pleases. Number 3 on the roll, my lady. SIU versus CP Weno Corsi Trading and the Department of Social Development. My lady, there too, under the section 075 on case lines.
Okay, just give me time to get there, ma'am.
I beg the court's pardon, my lady.
075,
my lady. It's the last section, a last item.
Yes.
My lady, the updated practice note and hence
again
an
here,
amendment.
let's look at your heads of argument, ma'am, because they are more detailed than your practice note.
My lady, if I may, the practice notes were all updated and referenced as per my lady's guidance.
Yes, no, that's fine, ma'am. That means you have complied with my directive, and I'm grateful for that. However, I'm saying to you, your heads of argument are more comprehensive, so I prefer that we work with that because you have submitted his.
As the court pleases.
Yes.
My lady, the first ground of review is non-compliance with the quotation.
That you deal with that at paragraph
13, my lady, of the heads of argument. It's on 075 hyphen.
Yes, ma'am, I'm listening.
My lady, the service provider, the first respondent in this instance, was not a supplier of hygiene consumables or PPE. This service provider belonged to the food and beverage community as it was.
Ma'am,
And
how does that constitute non-compliance with the quotation? That does not amount to non-compliance, because when you are saying there was no compliance with the quotation, you are probably saying the goods that were quoted for are item X, but what was delivered is not item X. So the issue
well, my
that
lady,
you are
my
raising,
submission in that
it's not about non-compliance with the quotation. So you are saying that this supplier was not registered on CSD as a supplier for PPEs, right?
or hygiene consumables.
Yes, it's an entirely. Is that a reviewable ground, ma'am? Come on.
Well, my lady, our contention is that the first respondent ought to have been excluded. He's clearly from the CSD report, the first respondent is not a supplier of hygiene consumables and PPE. I mean, this is a food and beverage service provider. And on that basis alone, ought to have been excluded and not evaluated further. I can't take that point any further than that, my lady.
Okay, next point.
My lady, coming back to the deviation that was signed by Mr. Ngubane, and that is non-compliance with 16A 6.4. That's the heading in the heads of argument. In paragraph 18, and we reference in the founding affidavit where we say, Mr. Ngubane signed the approval, but he says that an investigation needed to be launched. And here again, he doesn't record his reasons. And we've referenced those.
Did the SIU investigate? Now, this is a red flag. This is a red flag. Did the SIU investigate? What did it find? So I cannot review and set aside a contract because the head of department raised the red flag.
Well, what the SIU found and verified was that the submission for deviation was not aligned to the Treasury regulations in terms of 16A 6.4. And we say that, my lady. Okay. He's not compliant.
Anything further?
If my lady would bear with me. My lady, we make the point in this matter. I'll take my lady to it in the heads. It's under paragraphs 24, 25, 26 of the heads, that this quotation was sent on the 25th of March, 2020. The instruction note 8 of 2020 was published on the 19th of March. Here, the second respondent would have been able to have regard to Treasury Note 8 and comply thereto. It failed to do so, and this quotation was on.
What grounds of non-compliance are you relying on, ma'am?
Well, my lady, we say in paragraph 27 that the second respondent would have been in a position to negotiate prices.
Is that the only ground? Is that the only ground?
Well, the ground falls under the umbrella of non-compliance with section 217 in that this was not a competitive quote, my lady.
What other ground are you relying on, ma'am?
If my lady would bear with me. My lady, those are the grounds as set out in the heads of argument.
Thank you. Judgment reserved. Next matter.
Ladies, one has to look at it holistically and look at all three grounds as set out in the heads of argument, my lady.
Ma'am, which matter are you at now?
My lady, I'm still on the heads of argument, and our grounds for review are set out under subheadings.
Ma'am, which matter are you dealing with now?
The same matter, my lady.
Which one?
Sipo Wenkosi trading, matter number 3 on my lady's roll.
Okay.
I was hoping to persuade my lady that, as contained in the heads of argument, there are 3 grounds of review, so to speak. And if one had to look at those grounds of review holistically, my lady, our submission is that there is an irregularity in terms of procedure, my lady. And on that basis, it ought to be set aside and the draft order prayed granted.
I've heard you, ma'am. Judgment
Thank you,
is
my lady.
reserved. Next
My lady,
matter.
the last matter on my lady's roll, matter number 4. It's the SIU versus Pomelela General Trading and the Department of Social Development.
Did you see the note that I made on case lines? Did you see that note?
My lady, there's only one note that appears, and that's an old note that was made in March 2023.
You can't see the one I made on the 10th of August?
No, my lady. No, my lady. There's only one note that appears dealing with the removal in March.
Oh, maybe I did not. Okay, let me edit it and see. Oh, it's set to private. Sorry about that. I've just shared it widely. Does it appear now? Sorry,
Yes,
I wasn't aware
lady.
that it was set to private. So,
as appropriate. I see my lady's note.
Yeah,
my lady, in
I'm
terms of
looking at your practice note. I'm not seeing this note. I don't know where I took it from. Yeah, look at paragraph 12.1, because what you're saying is that the issue between the parties has become settled and agreement regarding payment has been reached. So I've called for settlement papers.
My lady, if I could just make 2 submissions. That is the old practice note. The updated practice note is under item 075. And there would have been a supplementary affidavit dealing with this issue of repayment. I'm quickly checking case lines to see if it has been uploaded, because there were supplementary affidavits deposed to with parties settled with SIU. But notwithstanding, my lady, we still persist with an order asking for a debatement. We're not asking for the alternative monetary claim. In terms of the amended order prayed, it's the debatement of account, my lady.
But ma'am, that's not how you litigate. You don't reach settlement with a party, and then you come to the unopposed role and you take judgment.
My lady, it was consented to in terms of the
settlement. Where are the papers? Those papers that there was consent are not in front of me.
My lady, I must beg the court's pardon. It ought to have been uploaded onto case lines. I can't explain why it doesn't appear, but there is a supplementary affidavit that has been deposed to by the investigating officer dealing with his meeting with the service provider and their consent to an order, my lady. It's not on case lines, my lady, and
okay, ma'am, I'm gonna make a note of case lines, right? So I'm sorry that this note was set to private and you didn't access it. So I'm removing this matter from the roll. for compliance with the tribunal's settlement directives.
As the court pleases.
Mpho, do we have another unopposed roll coming up? We do, right? I think so.
No, my lady, this was the last one. I will just need to clean up all the matters and then we
So
can
just check
start
with
another
Ms.
one.
Zondi if she has more matters, then you can create another roll, perhaps next week, Tuesday, or even the following Tuesday. Then I'll consider this matter then, ma'am, if your papers are in order, if it's properly enrolled. So it must be re-enrolled on the next.
My lady, there are other matters that are due to be set down. The 12th of September is in order with me, my lady. I am available.
It's fine. I've simply removed it. So just arrange for a date with the registrar in relation to those other matters. And if the papers are in order, she will enroll the matter. Then we'll meet on that day. Okay, proceeding sergeant. Thank you, proceeding sergeant.